3 to 4 millimeters is usually what I'm shooting for. And that one's also about 3 millimeters, so I got about the right height. So now it's just a waiting game on this one. And we'll let that one cool so we can use it again. So hopefully I have that camera lined up so that you're seeing through the magnifying glass. A little hard since it's on my forehead. You can see that nothing has happened to those two samples yet, which is good because we're well below the melting point. I'm going to crank that to 3. See if we can raise that temperature a little faster. This one's down, getting close to 115. When it gets down to about 110, I'll put the sample in there and we'll turn it back on. And watch it carefully. And there are 3 slots in there. So I could actually put the vanillin mixture into the center slot. So I can get the vanillin mixture and the vanillin itself side by side. We got the vanillin on the left, the mixture vanillin in the middle, and cinnamic acid by itself on the right. And that will save me the trouble of cooling it and raising it again. We're down to about 105. So I can stick my tryptamine mixture in there, turn that back on. We have that on the left-hand slot. There's our tryptamine mixture. And obviously it hasn't started melting yet. I'm not going to raise that temperature back up though, because I want to be able to watch this one fairly carefully. So up around 75, crank that just a little bit more to maybe 3.4. Probably safe to leave this one right around 3. Both of these thermometers are 260-degree mercury thermometers, so they should be fairly accurate over the range that we're looking at. These are the same melting point apparatus used in general chemistry, the Meltemp by the electrothermal company. So we're starting to shrink a little bit on the vanillin, which means we're getting closer to its melting point. And we're up right around 79. Still don't see any actual liquid. Up at 80. So now I'm starting to see just a little liquid in the left-hand one, which is the vanillin by itself. But there's still solid present. The middle one's shrinking. So we started at about 80, we're at about 81. Still just a touch of solid left. The mixture is starting to melt at about 81. And now by 82, the vanillin itself has melted. So 80 to 82 for the pure material, and we're still melting. We still have some solid left in the middle one. That started at 81. It looks like there's still a little bit of solid present. We're up at around 84. Still not entirely liquid. Now it looks like it's pretty much entirely liquid, and our temperature is up around 85. So 80 to 82 on the purified vanillin, and then 81 to 85 on the mixture melting point. So I'm going to move the cinnamic acid over to the left. And I'm going to put the mixture of cinnamic acid in there on the right. So you can see we've got cinnamic acid on the left and the mixture on the right. And we can crank this up a little bit, closer to 4, because cinnamic acid melts higher. You can see that it looks nicer on the one on the right where I ground them together than the one on the left where it's still a little flaky. That could affect the accuracy of the results. And this one's still sitting there. Got our tryptamine mixture. That's at about 100. This one's up around 90 now. Vanillin back. I think I'm done with it, but just in case. Purified cinnamic acid can go in there with the other one in case I ever want them again. These can go back on the balance. At 95 here, no change to the 2 cinnamic acid samples. We're at 100 and no change to the tryptamine. And I'm not going to toss these yet. There's no tryptamine to save because there was so little sample. I just mixed it all. Around 100. Sometimes these labels are very hard to get back off once they've been on there a while. For 105, no change to either of those samples. Almost a little bit of yellowing maybe, but no change to the melting. This guy here still looks the same as it always did. You can see that there's a little bit of color because the commercial tryptamine was a little colored. Getting up around 110. Collecting melting points is one of the more tedious pieces of data collection, especially if you don't know where it melts, because then you have no idea where to set this. So I'm going up to about 4.3, 4.4. Get the temperature to rise a little faster. Unfortunately, I can't remember which one melts where. I had it in my head that tryptamine melted at around 130 and cinnamic acid around 118, but based on where that tryptamine melted, I may have those backwards. We're at about 115, 116 here. Cinnamic acid samples are showing no sign of change. Now 118, still showing no sign of change on the cinnamic acid, so maybe the cinnamic acid is the one that melts at 133. Up around 120. Yep, still not any different than they were. Crank that up to 4.5. Get us up around 130 pretty quick. Sitting at about 126 now. Still no real change in there. So we got a good rate of change. Like I said, you want about 2 degrees C per minute at the melting point to get the most accurate melting temperatures. These thermometers are uncalibrated, so we may be a little bit off just because we didn't melt any pure substances with known melting points. So we're close to 130. Still no change. We're at 132. Doesn't look like there's any liquid there yet. Now 135. Maybe seeing a little shrinking. You often see a little shrinkage before it melts.